Good morning. Today is April the 15th. It's Thursday morning. I want to welcome you to Today in LA with Mike Amos. Mike is on the phone, and I'm Forrest Lee, and this is Bill Rice Jr. to my left, and want to wish everyone a good morning. Good morning, Mike. How you doing?
Good morning. How's everybody out there? Doing well?
A little bit of sprinkling going on here in Troy. Just a little bit of a shower.
Yep.
And you can't, unless you could tell it, Bill Rice has lost a little bit of weight. I could tell it when he walked into the set. And,
well, I've been trying.
It's probably one of the hardest.
Of course, it's a beautiful day out there, whether it's raining or sunshiny. Hey, it's just great to be alive.
Yes, sir. Hey, Mike, today is, guess what today is? You know, the national days?
What?
Take a wild guess. That's one of them. Take a wild guess day, banana day, glazed spiral ham day, high five day, and today is Titanic day because in April the 15th, 1912, the Titanic sunk. They were coming from Southampton to New York City. Approximately 1,500 people perished. It was somewhere around 11 p.m. at night. It took about 2 hours and 40 minutes for it to sink. Mm-hmm. And the captain was of the ship was Captain Ed Smith. So today,
he went down with the ship, did he?
I guess he did, but
you know who didn't? I've done a lot of reading on this. It's a fascinating topic. You know who didn't go down with the ship? The owner of the entire cruise line. That's showed in the movie. The millionaire that.
Her name was, she had a famous name, didn't she?
No, this was the guy who owned it.
That owned all the ship lines for that company.
Yeah, I pulled it up last night, but you know that's, you know, all you history teachers should be teaching the lesson of the Titanic a little bit today. Or all teachers.
Well, you know what is the lesson? It was
you can tie it into math. You can tie it into science. Mm-hmm. The whole gamut. History.
Well, the storyline is that from history is that it was supposedly an unsinkable ship. So the unsinkable ship sunk.
And that was on its maiden voyage, its first ever voyage. Mm-hmm. A little bit about some local news. Troy University Steve McClendon has re-signed a one-year contract with the defending Super Bowl champions, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So congratulations to the Ozark native, Steve McClendon. And he was a Carroll High standout and a standout at Troy University. And I think he's been in the pros about 12, 13 years.
He's had an unbelievable.
He's in his 30s.
He's had an unbelievable career. The average career of an NFL player in 3 years. So he's had one for 12. They say you get rich on your second contract, and if you can get more than 3 years, you qualify for a pension, which is pretty good, I think, on down the road. So that's outstanding. Yeah,
and another, we mentioned it yesterday, a local basketball player who played at Luverne and Troy University, now at Alabama, Dante Hall, signed a 10-day contract worth about $111,000. So, you know, that's just great for the town of Luverne and for him. And, you know, I love it when anybody from Alabama gets a little bit of history. All right, Mike, we're going to bring somebody else in. Good morning. You're on Today in L.A.
Hi, morning.
All right, let's see if we get your dad back on here.
I love it when somebody else has to do this. Transfer calls.
Coming in here.
Hello. Do I have both of you?
Yeah, sir.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Reed Bobcat.
Are y'all having lightning and thunder like we are at the beach right now?
Not yet, but it's
rain.
soon. Yeah. The sky looks kind of ominous, so I bet it's coming. So it's ugly down at the beach too, huh?
Yeah. Michael, we was just talking about Steve McClendon signing a one-year contract with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. It happened yesterday.
it'll be in the millions. I don't know how many million it'll be, but it'll be in the millions.
Right.
Yeah, he's an amazing story. You know, McClendon didn't even come to Troy until his senior year. That tells you about some of the talent Troy had on the defensive front back then.
Yeah. But did he play any with? He didn't play at all with those great
Yeah,
players.
he played back when Bear Woods and Boris Lee played.
Yeah. He's 35 years old. 35
Yeah, boy.
years old. Wow. And,
But he didn't play. He didn't play with Ware and those guys, did he?
OC.
I don't think he played with them. He might have played 1 year with them because those guys have played 38, 39.
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw DeMarcus just got married again.
Did he? Oh,
Yep.
I hadn't heard.
You know, DeMarcus is a kind of like a exercise guru now.
Is
He
he?
does all these exercise videos and classes and all kinds of stuff. He's in phenomenal
Yeah.
shape.
But he's like, well, you know, the big first baseman. So a lot of people don't realize that he played at Auburn, but you know, the big
big
first baseman for the White Sox.
Frank Thomas.
Yeah, Frank Thomas. Boy, he really has gotten rich in that business, hasn't he?
well, he's still a big old boy.
Well, he's promoting pills to make you better.
Yeah.
Hey, also, go ahead. I'm sorry.
He has really made an name for himself. No question about it.
Michael
So
Nelson read.
DeMarcus Ware's going to go in the Hall of Fame next year. Do you want to make the trip?
I would sure love to see it. I don't know if I could make the trip or not, but I'd like to see him do it.
Did you get to know him well when he was here, Mike?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I knew him pretty well. Well, you know, in fact, the night that he had was drafted, I saw him.
What is it, number 4? 4th or 6th overall pick? What overall pick was this?
Number 11.
Number 11. Okay.
Yeah.
He was
Robert Cole represented DeMarcus.
There's a guy from AL.com that has
Chris.
done some great stories on all the people with Alabama connections that have been drafted real high.
I've got it.
And I think DeMarcus was first, but I might be wrong because Leotis McKelvin also got drafted around the same spot as DeMarcus Ware, number 10 or 11 in the draft.
That's right. Yeah, he was number 11.
All right. In the first round of picks in the National Football League, Alabama has had 370 first-round picks through the years. Auburn has had 279.
Wow.
Who is the only number 1 overall pick drafted by the University of Alabama? What was that player's name?
I read the same story, so I know. So I'm going to disqualify myself.
Do you know who it is? Take a
He
while.
was no one picking the draft.
Yeah, number 1 pick in the draft.
I mean, Namath was, but it was for a different league.
The first overall in the National Football League. 1948, he was a quarterback.
Harry Gilmer.
Harry Gilmer, drafted by the Washington Redskins. All right, name the 4 players.
Boy, getting almost as good as his daddy, isn't he?
Yeah. Name the 4 Auburn overall number 1 draft picks from Auburn.
There's 4?
Yeah,
That's
and
4.
That's awesome. That's a point of pride for Auburn.
But what did he say?
The 4 number 1 picks.
Auburn has had 4 players that were picked number 1
number
overall in the whole.
Tucker Frederickson.
He was the first one, running back.
Well, you got the hard one.
1965,
Tucker Frederickson.
New York Giants.
The other one was
Cam Newton was number 1.
Cam Newton
Bo
picked.
Jackson.
Cam Newton. Bo Jackson was picked.
Was Andre Bruce number 1?
That's it. All right, Tucker Frederickson in 1965. Bo Jackson, running back to the Bucks, 1986. Andre Bruce, linebacker, in 1988. And Cam Newton, quarterback, in 2011. Name the 3 other schools who have had 5 number 1 overall picks that lead the country.
I'm going to say
Notre Dame,
Yes.
Southern Cal,
Michigan.
Notre Dame, Southern Cal, and Ohio State.
Notre Dame, Southern Cal,
Oklahoma.
Oklahoma.
It's Notre Dame,
Okay.
Oklahoma, and USC with 5.
And Alabama has
I mean,
not.
look at the running backs USC's had over the years.
How far do y'all go back with this?
Well, this is overall in the National Football League. This was an article that was in the Alabama.com.
Howard, Oklahoma had Howard, Hopalong, Cassidy.
It didn't list their names, but I can look it up real quick. There's I heard thunder just then outside the studio.
Oh yeah, if the Thunder don't get you, the Lightning will.
Yeah, you're right.
You know, Andre
The way
Bruce.
it's really blowing where I am. I'm looking out over the trees in my backyard, and it's blowing pretty hard. This is wonderful to be able to look at this. I love I love it when it's rainy and windy and when I can't get out.
You know, I'm doing a lot of writing and stay in front of my computer all day, but when you have a bad electric storm, you got to turn your computer off. And
All right, here's Oklahoma's number 1 draft picks overall. Defensive end, Leroy Selman for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Running back, Billy Sims, Detroit Lions.
Okay.
Quarterback, Sam Bradford, St. Louis Rams. Quarterback, Baker Mayfield, Cleveland Browns. And quarterback, Kyler Murray for the Arizona Cardinals. All right, now I'm going to type in Notre Dame's number 1 picks.
Bradford was a bust for sure in the NFL.
he was injury prone, wasn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, Andre Bruce was a neighbor of mine in Montgomery, kinda. The neighborhood off of Zelda Road, between Zelda Road and Vaughn Road, Zelda Place. If you in that curve on Zelda Road and turn up into that neighborhood, or you can turn into it from across from Montgomery Academy High School. But when Andre got signed by the Falcons, like a lot of early round draft picks, what's the first thing they do? They buy a house for their mama.
That's right.
As they should. And he bought a house for his mama in the neighborhood I lived in, and his mama is still living there today, and I think Andre spends a fair amount of time, but it was around the corner from the house I lived in Montgomery for 8 years.
I mean, Andre Bruce was a bust in the NFL. I don't know what happened.
All right, here's Notre Dame's number 1 picks. 1944, Angelo Bertelli, quarterback. 1946, Frank Dantzwicks, quarterback. 1950, Leon Hart, end.
Amen.
1957, Paul Horning, halfback. You know, they had like a 5-6 record, didn't he? Isn't that?
Yeah.
Didn't they have a losing record?
No, 2 wins.
Yeah, 2 wins. And who did he beat out?
He beat out Johnny Majors and Jim Brown.
Right. Well,
How do I know all this stuff? I'm like Michael Amos.
all right. In 1972, Walt Patulski, defensive end. For Southern Cal, Ron Yeri, tackle. O.J. Simpson, running back. Running back, Ricky Bell, 1977. 1996, Keyshawn Johnson went to the Jets. And 2003, Carson Palmer went to Southern Cal. From Southern Cal, went to the Cincinnati Bengals.
You know, I'm bad about writing stories that are too long. It's harder actually to write short stories when you do a lot of research and interviews and make it short. And so I get flack sometimes for, why is this story, like my Galt story that's coming out soon, is long. But I just thought it had to be. I couldn't figure out anything else to cut, but I just read a great long story on ESPN.com about John Madden, who just turned 85 years old. Mm-hmm. And I said, well, dang, this is a long story, but it was fascinating because you have a lot more details you've never learned when you read a long story. And so I copied and pasted it and counted the words. And I said, well, hey, this story's 600 words longer than my Galt story, in case somebody questions me about my long stories. But in that Madden story, I learned that John Madden was fascinated by the O.J. Simpson trial, like a lot of Americans. And he followed it passionately, and he became good friends with Vincent Bugliosi, who wrote Helter Skelter and also wrote a book about the O.J. Simpson trial. And they would discuss all the things that the prosecution was doing wrong in that trial. But Madden is a fascinating character, buddy.
Didn't the Beatles have an album called Helter Skelter?
Yeah, that was why. What Charles Manson based his whole. You know, he ordered these murders, and he was trying to create something he called Helter Skelter. He thought he was going to create a global race war by framing minorities for these murders, when his cult followers, actually did it. So they painted Helter Skelter in blood on the walls.
He actually lived with the Beach Boys too. You know, there's a Beach Boys connection to Manson too. Yeah. Really strange stuff. Well, you know, Madden has a tremendous fear of flying, so he had a bus that would, you know, drive him around to all the games that he would call each week.
Yeah, you know, and I learned in this story, everybody knows that. You know, first he went on the train, then he got him a bus. And they say he's actually not really afraid of flying. He's claustrophobic, real bad. And his first bus he got, he rented a bus that was used by Dolly Parton to get her the different concerts.
Yeah. Here comes the rain.
Yeah, it's coming here. You can hear
it. Alabama, here comes the rain.
Yeah.
Well, good thing y'all are in a secure building at Troy Cable.
Had a good visit.
But how much do you think Madden is worth? He was the most famous and rich color analyst forever, a great football coach.
I tell you, he made a lot of money on those videos.
That's what I was getting to. Yeah, he has great. That long story I was telling about. Good to read a long story. Talked about this guy that came up with this video game idea, and he got a meeting with John Madden on the bus or the train, and said, "We want you involved with this, and here's what we want to do." And Madden said, "Well, if you're going to do it, you got to do it." This guy wanted to only have 7 players on the little video board, and Madden said, "No, you got to have 11." And the guy went back to the drawing board, and 2 years later, he said they got it where they could have 11. Yeah. But here's what Madden got: a little money up front, and then he got, I think, 5% of all sales for forever.
Wow.
After that,
you know, he's from Minnesota, and he went to Oregon to begin with. Then he transferred to California Poly, and then when he was drafted by I believe the Philadelphia Eagles, he got hurt. Well, then he started spending time in the booth, or going into the film room, and somebody took him in, and that's how he became a great analyst. And he was a very successful coach to one of my favorite teams, the Oakland Raiders. I was an Oakland Raider, Pittsburgh Steelers fan.
He coached 10 or 11 years, yeah. But the Raiders got to the AFC Championship game 4 years in a row. Kenny Stabler was probably their quarterback 3 of those years. They only won 1 Super Bowl, but they finally got him a Super Bowl.
Madden loved Kenny.
He said that Norm Van Brocklin started teaching him how to break a film down when he got hurt. That Norm Van Brocklin invited him into the film room, and he educated him on all that stuff.
What's one of the most famous plays and games in NFL history? It's the Immaculate Reception, where Bradshaw throws it across the middle and the ball's deflected, and
Jack Tatum,
was it? Franco Harris picked it up off the ground and went for a touchdown.
You know it.
But you know who the quarterback for the Raiders was in that game?
Jim Plunkett.
No, it was a young Stabler, but Stabler did not start that game, I don't think. He came in.
He came in for let's see, what was that guy's name? Not LaMonica.
Yeah, I think.
Daryl LaMonica.
So if that play hadn't happened, Snake might have been to another Super Bowl.
Mine's worth $200 million.
Oh man,
Probably more than that.
And I think most of that's on those video machines.
Mm-hmm.
He's been married to Virginia Joe Fields since 1959. So he's been married 62 years.
Wow.
Another article I read in this nugget of long-form journalism, it says that people around him, he uses a lot of profane language. Every other word is a cuss word. And the person that was Madden, and so the person that was pointing this out said that the thing that shows his discipline is that when he gets on the air, he is so disciplined that he never has come close to doing that on the air. So that does take some discipline. When you're used to peppering your language with these words, but then for 3 hours you got to talk and you don't use any of those words.
It says in the third quarter, LaMonica was intercepted for the second time, both times by Andy Russell, a Steeler linebacker, Jack Ham in the third quarter, and then LaMonica, his latest turnover prompted the head coach John Madden to put Kenny Stabler into the game. There you go.
And they scored, and Stabler drove them down, and they scored a touchdown. Our field goal, we're in position to win the game. Should have won the game.
And we're still in it at the end.
Well,
he would have been the hero of that game.
Wow.
He ran for a touchdown, about 40-yard touchdown. Put the Raiders ahead, and then that play where that was very rare.
The announcers were Kurt Gowdy and Al DeRogatis.
I think the referees missed about 2 or 3 different calls on that play. If memory serves, it shouldn't have been allowed to stand for a couple of reasons. And that's besides just the fact that maybe the ball hit the ground, but there were other reasons.
At that time it was illegal. If that ball had hit Fuqua, it would have been an incomplete pass because you can't. Back then you couldn't. Another receiver couldn't.
I know,
touch it.
but didn't Stabler have a lucky play too called the Holy Roller?
Right.
Oh, he had a couple of them.
He had an underhand toss too.
Casper recovered it in the end zone.
It was a lucky.
He just threw the ball forward, and they scored a touchdown.
It was so obvious. It was so obvious that he did that too. And after that, they made a rule that you couldn't move a lateral. It had to be down right where he touched it.
Yeah, and another play. Remember, he just kind of threw a ball in the air and it floated, and a guy caught it.
Oh, yeah.
He was being tackled, but both plays. What else could he do? He had to do something. The game was over if he hadn't rolled that ball forward. You had nothing to lose. So it was actually kind of smart. And
Phyllis Tompkins told me he used to babysit Paige when she would have to go for a shot for. I think she had headaches or something, but sinuses. So Coach Tompkins had Kenny Stabler go with her. And so he would walk Paige outside the doctor's office while she had to wait after her allergy shot. She was a little girl.
Mike Amos will remember. Stabler became known for being cool and clutch in clutch time at the end of the game and doing 2-minute drives, which is ironic because what was he infamous for at Alabama, Mike? Do you remember when he was a young quarterback? Alabama's going to beat Tennessee or tie them.
Yep.
And he clocks he throws the ball on the ground to stop the clock, and it turns out it's 4th down when
That's right. And we lost 11-10.
Yep. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to take a quick break. We want to thank Health Actions Physical Therapy here in Troy. We want to thank Premier Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram of Troy, Jason Gregory. They have some wonderful deals out there. Nobody can beat their deals. Nobody. Of course, Troy Bank and Trust Company, they've been here since 1905 or 1906. They have 14 locations. Wells Fargo Advisors on the bypass on the Elba Highway. Express Oil. We'll be back in just a minute.
This is Barney at Premier Chrysler Dodge Jeep and Ram, and I'm here to nip this sale in the bud.
Hello, folks. This is Greg Anthony, sales manager at Premier Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram in Troy, Alabama, offering discounts up to $15,000.
Let's nip that.
0% financing up to 72 months.
We gotta nip that.
Barney, $5,000 over Kelly Blue Book for your trade-in.
You're killing the competition.
Barney!
Trojan Auto Parts of Troy, home of Napa Know-How. Stop by and see owners Mike and Melissa Kilcrease and their Napa Know-How team with over 100 years of combined experience. We're the only locally owned parts store in Pike County, and we're fully stocked and ready to serve you. We pride ourselves on being your go-to parts store, not only for the simple items, but we specialize in those hard-to-find items as well. Trojan Auto Parts, the right part at the right price at the right time. Napa, a name you've trusted here in Troy since 1945.
Starting April 1st, all your local county and school board meetings will be moving to BBTV, Channel 17. Catch Pike County Commission, Troy City Council, and school board meetings live on Facebook, YouTube, and BBTV, brought to you by Troy Cable.
Troy Cable Security Wi-Fi doorbell camera allows you to answer the door from your smartphone when you are at home, at work, or on the go. When a visitor presses the button, Troy Cable Security sends a live video feed to your smartphone so you can see, hear, and speak to the person at your door. With the doorbell camera, you can have your porch light turn on automatically when it detects motion at night to create the appearance that someone is at home. You can view video clips so you can always know who stopped by when you are out. Troy Cable Security. You love them, protect them.
Okay. Welcome back to Today in L.A. I'm Forrest Lee. This is Bill Rice. And on the phone, we have the founder of the show. Mike Amos is calling from his home in Crow Hill, in Troy, Alabama. And his son Michael's calling in from Grayton Beach. There's some rain showers going on and a little bit of thunder and lightning through the area.
Sounds like a flood. Hey, Mike, tell us the story of how you founded and created this show.
I founded and created, well, I was, first of all, I was just retired from my state government job, and I wanted something to do, and I went to work with the university, and when I went to work with the university, I was approached, by my good friend Harold Freeman to start doing some broadcasting, and we came up. Bud Casey had moved to Troy, and Bud was quite a personality in his own right, and he and I became good friends, and one day he and I were looking into a talk show, and we started it, and it was called the Bud and Amos Show.
Bud and Amos, there it is.
Well, I know for a long time you did football games and parades and all kind of events, but at some point you said, well, let's do a regular daily show, and then, you had to have a studio and cameras, and so
That's right.
What year did that start, Mike? What year?
That was, I retired.
He was doing Today in LA.
Yeah. And we started. I started doing an interview show, and we Bud came to town, and he brought a little flair to the show, and we started it. And we had a lot of fun. One unreal thing. We started that show. See, we started the Bud and Amos show from 6 to 7 in the morning, and then after that show was over, I had my talk show from 8 to I want to say
7 to 8:30.
Yeah, 7. Yeah, excuse me, 7 to 8 o'clock, or many times to 8:30. So I was on the air for 2.5 hours. And I tell you, anybody that's ever done this, that's a lot of air.
A long time. A long time.
But we always, with Bud, he was quite a character. And, early morning, a football coach or a retired 6 o'clock. I mean, what I'm saying, it doesn't bother them to get up at 6 o'clock in the morning to do anything. And I found out then that he would call people and friends of his at 4 o'clock in the morning to be on the show. And so with Bud, there was no
clock.
With getting up early in the morning.
There was no
football coaches all over the country would be in their office at 4:30 or 5 o'clock, and they carry on the conversation.
You know, one of my good Facebook buddies is Chuck Ash, who's a long-term trainer. But I've talked to Chuck before, but you think about during football season, the hours he and his training staff would put in. They had to be there before practice to treat these players. Yeah. And then they would skate all day and into the night after. So he was probably working, what would you say, 16-hour days for months at a time? When
I was in college, I took Chuck Ash. He was a student assistant at the time, or a graduate assistant, and I took theory and technique of sports medicine under him. We learned how to tape ankles and all that kind of stuff. I think I made a B in that class.
That's good.
But Chuck is a good artist. Chuck can do
I didn't know that.
Woodworking. He can do all kind of art stuff. I mean, I call him an artist. He's a jack of all trades. He can do it.
What you mean, Chuck? You talking about Chuck?
Yeah, Chuck. Chuck's pretty good handyman. And
I tell you what,
he can build stuff.
This morning. I tell you something. Let's do this. Let's sort of let's talk about the individuals and the personalities that have been through Troy University for the last 40 years, if you can think of it.
And then let's say it's Be Kind to Chuck Ash Day.
Yeah. Well, you know, when you were mentioning...
Be Kind to Chuck Ash Day, but personalities that we know that have gone through Troy and have made a name for themselves, and, our strength coach,
Sean
Shaughnessy, would be one of those guys. He was quite a personality.
And then who do you think, don't you agree, Mike and Michael and Forrest, that the guys that really get to know the players best are the strength coach and the trainers?
He'll get in there.
That's right.
They spend the most time. They spend the most time and get to know these guys.
Well, the thing I like about Richard Shaughnessy, he will look you in the eye and he'll tell you exactly how it is. He ain't gonna hold nothing back, and he'll get on them. I mean, he'll straighten them out. And I can remember that.
I just saw our coach Sohail Abibwala is now taking over for Colonel Smith. He was the coach on the sidelines for several years under Coach Blakeney.
Yeah. Very excellent.
Oh boy!
Hey, Sohail's a great.
Who is he taking over for?
Colonel Smith.
I need to do a feature story on Sohail. He's got an amazing story of how he ended up in Troy and how he ended up staying in Troy, and he's just had several different jobs. But he started off as kind of a flunky in the athletic department. And
well, Dad always jokes around and said he was one of the coaches because he was always right next to Larry on the sidelines for so many years.
Yeah. Going back to Bud Casey, he always made you feel good. Coacher, how you doing, Coacher? And I remember seeing him one time in the nursing home in Auburn, and I walked in. He said, "Coacher, how you doing, Coach?"
Good.
He said, "We got some great players down the hall." I mean, he's just as jovial as he could be.
He was always upbeat and made you feel good about yourself.
But Dad, you had done Today in L.A. way before Bud and Amos started. Today in L.A. has now been on 23 years.
Yeah.
Doc Anderson.
Doc Anderson.
Doc Anderson.
Oh. That's...
I reckon I can't think that bad. You would think that it was the Today in L.A. show. I don't know. But I don't know.
No, Steve said it did start out as Bud and Amos, then went to Today in L.A.
But old Doc Anderson is still a character. And
Doc Anderson would definitely be one of those guys.
You talk about somebody telling you what they think and don't care what you think.
I just like asking him a question and just sit back and relax.
But he always has this twinkle in his eye when he's talking to you. Like,
who you mean John? You mean
Doc
Anderson?
Yes.
Yeah.
I would have never thought he had a twinkle in his eye.
Oh, you wouldn't?
How about
He had a wry, he has a kind of a wry smile when he's talking to you, like he knows something that you don't know.
this
But
guy?
He's another great personality that's gone through the ranks at Troy University.
I guess
and I
who?
was surprised, very surprised to hear that Sohail
Agbotwala
in the cabinet at Troy.
Yeah, the cabinet.
You know.
This next fella, what you want to take this quarter, young fellow? The basketball coach, John Archer.
Really?
Yeah, John Archer.
John Archer.
He was a real personality. A lot of people had him for class, and he taught tennis and a lot of other classes, and he called people po' boy. He said, po' boy. He said, come over here, po' boy. What do you want?
Sister, you're holding your racket. Incorrect. Sister, you're holding your racket. Incorrect.
He was a great coach.
How about two of my favorites, Chase Riddle and Charlie Bradshaw?
Yeah. Well, both of those.
Their demeanor was, you
All-American.
better get out of the way when they walk in the room, or you better sit up straight and listen.
But you know what? I don't believe, Chase Riddle was the mild-mannered person, really. And, you had to, he made friends with a lot of people and everything over the years, in the baseball career. And I've never seen him ever try to dominate any kind of conversation. He was just a laid-back, great person.
What about Wayne Bolt?
Wayne Bolt would definitely be one of those. That's another great one. Wayne Bolt.
The deadbolt defense.
When the Lord made Wayne Bolt, he threw away the mold, I promise you.
One of my favorite people, he was indirectly associated with the athletic department. I think at one time he might have been the track coach, but Nick Costes.
Oh, yes.
Oh, he's another great one.
There has never, you talking about an original. I got to know Nick later in his life when he wrote a column for my newspaper, the Troy Citizen. It was a cerebral, original, excellent column. But until then, he was just that crazy guy I saw limping and jogging all over Troy.
He was in the 56 or 52 Olympics.
He sure was.
Yeah, oh yeah.
And I took him for kinesiology, made a D.
Yeah, he was
It
not.
was tough.
When he taught a class, he would get up and he would climb up on this podium he had, and he would start showing people, boys and girls, the
Parts of the anatomy.
bone structure and so forth, and everybody. And sometimes he would drop his drawers to show somebody a muscle or something like that.
Well, I never saw that in class, but
he was a great teacher, I tell you.
He was America's top finisher in the 52 or 56 Olympics in the marathon.
Yep.
He actually, I think he would have finished higher, but he told me one time that he had some kind of health issue that was bothering him. But he also, I think, was runner-up in the Boston Marathon twice. And if they had marathons for people who were 65 years old, he would have won them all because he never stopped running.
I remember we were in class. He said, stay away from McDonald's. Bad for you. Do not go to McDonald's. So after class one day, a couple of us went into McDonald's, and who did we see? His wife and daughter.
Oh, his wife and daughter.
His wife and daughter were
Pam.
in there.
Dr. Carroll that used to get all the baseball
Yeah.
games was legendary, wasn't he?
Dr. Carroll was. He sure was. He was a great fan.
Well, as a collective group, the Mafia.
What is
Baseball.
Dr. Carroll was known for his
Rhett
dapper
Butler
dressing, Rhett Butler
Yeah,
look.
oh yeah.
But he also had tattoos over almost his whole body, which he covered up with those suits. But why was Dr. Carroll so prestigious and famous? Does anybody know? It was a real coup when he came to Troy University and joined the faculty.
Didn't he date one of the
Yeah,
wait a minute. He dated the lady in
Lana Turner or somebody like that?
one Lana Turner. It was
But here's what it, yeah.
I want to say in Gone with the Wind, who's the woman in Gone with the Wind? I want to say
Scarlett O'Hara?
Vivian Leigh?
Olivia de Havilland?
Yeah.
Yeah, something like that. It was one of these movie stars. That's how you got.
He won a Pulitzer Prize, I think it was, or whatever the big the #1 literary award is, because he was the intern for America's most famous biographer. Yeah. And he wrote a series of biographies about George Washington. The story I've heard is that this guy, his name escapes me now, passed away before he finished his final volume on Washington's life, and Dr. Carroll, who'd been working on it behind the scenes, all of those books with him, finished it for him.
What's his first name again?
John Carroll.
Yeah,
Dr.
John Carroll.
I had him for a class when I transferred from Alabama, and I loved it, but we didn't open the book, have a test the whole semester. He would just get in there and shoot the breeze.
Well, Dr. DeAndrea was quite a professor too.
Yeah, I took
him. He would tell crazy stories.
I took him about 6 or 7 times. I minored in geography. And,
he would talk about that. He would talk about the thing in the jungle, whatever he saw.
Anaconda.
That was crazy.
He'd say they'd throw in a diseased cow down one side of the river where the piranha would go, then they could safely cross because the piranhas were eating the cow. But it says John Carroll, if I've got the right guy, was born in New Orleans, Louisiana.
Yeah, that fits.
So DeAndrea was a very good teacher.
I had him. He was.
Yeah. I mean, the other teacher that's legendary is Radcliffe.
Yeah, sure was. He was my grandmother's next door neighbor. Dr. Radcliffe is a giant in the accounting field.
He built that business department at Troy in a big way.
Bill Kelly was a great teacher.
Yeah.
He gave everybody an A.
I was thinking about him too, Dr. Kelly.
I tell you what, Bill Kelly's a great man. He really is, and he would be on my list too.
Johnny Long.
But Jim Tompkins was the Hercules of all the coaches that have ever coached at Troy.
He's
Mississippi State. He was
Starkville.
He didn't actually perform, but he could have been a bodybuilder. He looked like Tarzan. He was in great physical shape.
He's another one.
He's real short, was he? In Tompkins,
but he's about 5'9" or 5'10", but he was just he worked out religiously every morning.
I heard the story. I saw Miss Phyllis this past January, and I asked her how they met. And as a beginning freshman, she and another girl came early for, the orientation, and she and Jim spotted each other. They started dating. I think they were married within a year or two. But that's how they met one summer.
You remember Miss Tompkins as the PE physical education coach at Charles Simpson Middle School, but she was the science teacher when I was there.
Yes.
She was one of my favorite teachers.
She is a sweet soul. And but when you saw Jim Tompkins and he looked you in the eye, you'd go the other way. I mean, you'd stay. He was so stern looking. It reminds me of one of my daddy's brothers that. Yeah.
I remember, Charles Bradshaw was my best buddy, as everybody knows, and Coach Bradshaw, and he was on Coach Bradshaw's staff. You remember a guy named Vic King, Mike?
Yeah, I remember Vic King.
And then the coach that eventually followed Rick Rhodes. Rick Rhodes was on that staff. Chan Gailey came on that staff.
That was a great staff, wasn't it? Rick Rhodes later on won.
Whatever happened to Red that started Showtime? What's Red doing now?
I don't know what Red's doing, but he was on Coach Maestry's staff, and no better promoter ever to coach a team at Troy was than Don Maestry. I mean. You remember those games, basketball games that the little Barnett girl would come in on the unicycle.
Kim Barnett?
Kim Barnett. She was.
Did you ever see that, right?
Yes, Kim Barnett was a legendary beauty at Charles Henderson High School, and then later at Troy University. Big sister of my good friend Eddie Barnett, and Dr. Barnett, and Miss Barnett's daughter. But yeah, Kim, he recruited Kim to ride the unicycle, and they did this little Harlem Globetrotters routine. Showtime.
I was part of it. Blake Crow came out spinning the basketball, and then we'd all have to spin the basketball because Red would start spinning it, and then he'd put it on our finger.
Wow.
Yeah. Well, Ed Barnett, his mother, Miss Dorothy, and his daddy, Mr. Vandy, used to live in downtown Goshen right next to the baseball field.
Yeah.
But Ed Barnett attended Vidat School between Troy and Laverne with my mother and Billy Ray Norman. And Mother would tell us that between Billy Ray Norman and Ed Barnett, one of them taught her how to tell time, the other one taught her how to tie her shoes. My guess is Barnett taught her how to tell time, and Norman taught her how to tie her shoes, would be my guess.
Barnett was a great man. He was a very good man. Everybody loved him.
Oh, yeah, the Barnett family was...
I tell you, a sports information director people don't talk about a lot, but I always thought he was a great conversation, was Tom Enzi.
Oh, they do talk about Tom, though. He's legendary in the...
They fired Alan Biddle, and he fired some other that he really didn't know.
I thought that was Gary Stockner. Did Gary Stockner do that?
No,
Gary Stockner was a sidekick.
Tom is one of the wittiest, most clever guys you'll ever meet. And
oh, yeah.
His little writings would...
He was one of the best sports information guys, and he was a card. He was really funny.
Where is Dan Enzi now?
Huh?
Where is Dan?
He's in Montgomery, working for some private program up there. You know, with the.
I mean, you talk about Maester, but you got to talk about Felix. Felix was louder on the sidelines than Maester. I mean, Felix's voice carried, and he was quite a character. If you ever talked to him outside of basketball.
Well, Maester and Felix were a team, and Coach Maester would tell you. They worked together, and it's so rare that you would have a team of coaches that would stick together for 25 years.
Yeah.
But
Coach,
it's like Chase had Russell for so many years.
Well, and you know, they were a staff that was so well known within by the public. I mean, there was so many people. They had so many friends that were also basketball supporters, and so you know, every time they you know, needed to promote something, they had a real good audience.
No, I was the sports editor. I came back to Troy out of college. I went to law school for a couple of weeks, and then
a couple of weeks.
Yeah, it wasn't for me. At Jones Law School in Montgomery.
Yeah.
And I didn't know what I was going to do. And Wes Gaylord said, I hear there's a opening for sports editor in Troy. Dan Smith had been the sports editor, and then there was this other guy. And so I got the job with no journalism experience. But one of the delights of being the sports editor was working with Coach Maestri. I normally had to call the coaches and work to get all these stories. Coach Maestri would call you and say, all right, Bill, I got a story for you. Do that. You know, and he was promoting that program all the time. And it paid off, didn't it? I mean, it got interest in the basketball program.
You know, Dan Smith, side note, he's got a disassembled blue Volkswagen convertible at his house.
Forrest is always bringing this up.
I want to get it restored for him.
Do you see all the pictures that Dan posts from he shoots of recreation youth soccer and baseball?
He's probably taking pictures somewhere right now in the rain.
They are Sports Illustrated quality photo. I mean, when I tell people that I've seen been around a little bit of journalism and photo journalism, and there's nobody that takes better pictures than Dan.
You know, we're talking about personalities, and I want us to continue this. This is a great show.
Virginia Watson in physical education, as far as putting out teachers, her and Gene Hansen and Don Jeffrey in that department, I know they were very well oil machine putting out.
Are we talking about just Troy University, people affiliated with Troy University?
Yeah, pretty much, and whatever. Yeah.
Because Troy is filled. I mean, when you talk about characters, no small town has created more characters than Troy. When you talk about people like Robert Dunn and Hank McLeod, who lived next door to my grandmother. And,
Hank McLeod was running before anybody was running. He was running the blocks. You know, he and his nephew Herbie Cottle.
he rode his bicycle. Who was that lady that rode her bicycle everywhere? Teen Coleman. You remember Teen?
Oh yeah. She was a cruise. Quite a character.
She was a hoot.
You know, as far as university, when I was in school, you know, was it Melton Carter? Who was the Carter fellow that ran the physical plant?
Yeah, he was a
Mr. Carter?
Yeah, Kenneth Carter's daddy.
Yeah, Kenneth Carter's dad.
But he was a good friend of mine.
Yeah, we miss Kenneth Carter. He was a great guy. Good. We talk about great baseball players from Charles Henderson from time to time. We probably left off Kenneth Carter. He was a really, really good pitcher. Played at Troy University for Coach Riddle.
Yeah, exactly right. Of course.
You got Robert Earl Stewart, who's the athletic director, and Johnny Williams. That's, you know, it's characters.
Well, what about the greatest? Maybe the greatest character of them all was maybe Ralph Adams. You know, you talk about.
And that Chevy too of his.
And there was. Did he wear tennis shoes a lot? Wasn't he kind of? He wore like a suit, and he was very casually dressed. I think below the cuffs of his. But that car. Who bought the car? It's been restored.
Probably his son Sam might have.
Got it. His son.
Okay.
His son.
Sam.
Yeah.
Yeah, Sam.
You see it in the parade, and of course, I'm trying to think.
I always heard that Ralph Adams was one of the richer people around too. That he was so conservative and such a smart investor. That he probably was.
He was. I'm sure that family. Sam's is a real good businessman himself.
Yeah.
You're right.
He retired general in the
he owned a lot of stock.
Alabama Air Guard.
Yeah, it was Dad called Dr. Adams General Adams.
General Adams.
You know, Dad's known for writing the history of the city of Troy, and then he wrote a book called Trojan Influence about influential people in Troy. But he also ghost wrote Dr. Adams' memoirs. You know, late in his life, Dr. Adams wrote an autobiography, but he got Dad to, for some reason, why would Dr. Adams pick my dad? He must have liked him.
When you say ghostwriter, what does that mean?
That means Dad wrote the book. He did interviews with Dr. Adams and tried to put it in his Dr. Adams words. And, you know, I'm sure he would let him edit it and make things, but...
Was it published?
Yeah.
Okay.
It was self-published probably. He didn't really market it. He just wanted to get down on paper some of the thoughts he had about his life.
I woke up this morning early and just turned on the TV. They say that Prince, the singer Prince, has thousands of songs that have never been published.
I've heard that. Now, aren't they getting ready to come out with an album now?
I think they are. But anyway, it's about 7:55.
Dad, what's your favorite Prince song?
What?
What's your favorite Prince song?
Prince.
Oh, I don't have one. I don't have one.
We'll take a short break. It's about 7:55. I want to thank our sponsors again, Premier Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram of Troy, Jason Gregory. There's nobody that can make a better deal than the Dodge people, and the Chrysler people down there on the bypass. The Withington Group, Bird's Drugs, and Southeast Alabama Gas District. We'll be back in just a short minute for today in L.A. with Mike Amos.
Trojan Auto Parts of Troy, home of Napa know-how. Stop by and see owners Mike and Melissa Kilcrease and their Napa know-how team with over 100 years of combined experience. We're the only locally owned parts store in Pike County, and we're fully stocked and ready to serve you. We pride ourselves on being your go-to parts store, not only for the simple items, but we specialize in those hard-to-find items as well. Trojan Auto Parts, the right part at the right price at the right time. Napa, a name you've trusted here in Troy since 1945.
Hi, Sandy. I'm right here. Come on in.
Daddy, I'm right Miss Mary. I'm right here. I'm right here.
Since 1969, we've been right here because at Troy Regional Medical Center, we take these words to heart.
I'm right here.
Thank you. Remarkable people, remarkable care.
At the Piggly Wiggly, we proudly support our local farmers and bring you the best they have to offer, all at cost plus 10%. When you shop local, you reinvest in your community. Remember, buy local, shop local. Piggly Wiggly, local since forever.
This is Barney at Premier Chrysler Dodge Jeep and Ram, and I'm here to nip this sale in the bud.
Hello, folks. This is Greg Anthony, sales manager at Premier Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram in Troy, Alabama, offering discounts up to $15,000.
Let's nip that.
0% financing up to 72 months.
We gotta nip that.
Barney, $5,000 over Kelly Blue Book for your trade-in.
You're killing the competition.
Barney!
Welcome back to Today in L.A. with Mike Amos. I'm Forrest Lee. This is Bill Rice. And on the phone we have Michael Amos calling from Grayton Beach, Florida. And his dad, Mike, is on Crow Hill, Alabama. Or Crow Hill,
I'm trying to grow my beard back, so I got a ways to go. I'm looking at it right now on camera.
Well, I shaved this morning, so I don't have mine.
Mike got us on a great topic. First, we started off with just colorful characters from Troy University, which the list is almost endless. But I think now we're going to segue into just the town in general, or a few people that pop in their mind. Somebody mentioned Scotty Sowers, who he qualifies as. Well, I thought, does anybody want to tell a Scotty story?
Is he the one that drove the
Scotty's story, he basically talked to you the whole time you were trying to hit when he was behind the plate.
Yeah,
I remember that when I was growing up.
Scotty
would like have a conversation while you're trying to hit a fastball.
Oh, I used to, when I was in high school, he used to come up to me at the free throw line and hand me the ball, and then he'd start telling me jokes and things like that. You couldn't even shoot the ball because he made you laugh so hard.
He called you Laddie.
Yeah, Laddie, that's right. He called you Laddie. But I tell you what, he was a great man, Scotty Sowers. He did so much for so many people, and he was a funny guy, but he was also a great guy. I sat down with him many times, and he was a great role model for us young guys back then. We had I worked down at Murphy Park, and all of us be gathered out there singing, and he would have a pep, sort of like a pep rally. He had a intercom. He called everybody out. He'd call everybody by name. He'd have roll call, and they'd be different people all over the place that were saying here, whatever.
He made everything fun, didn't he? Yeah.
Yeah, he did, and he made it. He really meant it. His motto was, "Let them play ball," and it didn't matter how many kids you had out there. If you had 18 kids out there, you would have 9 on each side. But if you had 25 kids out there, you had 12 on each side. He just said, "Hey, if a kid's out there, let him play."
What did you work for the recreation department?
Well, he was the head. He was the head man for a long time.
Oh, I thought you said you worked there though, because my brother Rush.
I did. Yeah, I worked in college. I worked at the recreation department.
Rush did that job. One of Rush's jobs was emptying the Murphy Park pool, and then you filled it up with every 3 or so days with a big fire hose. And, they didn't have filters in the pools back then.
I tell you, that was a great swimming pool, but it didn't have any kind of filtering system, so they had to empty the pool every Wednesday and every Wednesday and I believe Saturday or something.
That was one of Rush's jobs. You probably did the same thing, didn't you?
Yeah.
Hey, I want to switch back to Dr. Carroll. He was in the United States Navy, and during World War II, he was on the USS California that sunk at Pearl Harbor.
Oh, my God.
Did y'all know that?
No.
Yeah, I'm reading his biography now.
Who was the history professor he worked with?
Dr. Leonard Trapp, was he one of them?
No, that's not.
But he was a personality.
He went to Georgetown, and I mean, wow.
I want to say something like Fulbright, or you've heard of a Fulbright scholar.
He taught at the University of Arizona, TCU, and Troy University, and he wrote. He was a co-author, "Home of the Brave: A Patriot's Guide to American History" in 17.
We'll see if he finds some. But his claim to fame is that he worked on these George Washington series of biographies.
It is, yeah. He conducted research for Douglas Soffa Freeman's biography on
Douglas Freeman. Thank you.
Douglas Freeman.
A lot of people have heard of Douglas Freeman. That's it.
Yeah. After Freeman died during the writing, Carol and Mary Wells Ashworth wrote the last volume.
All right, I was pretty close.
Wow. That's unbelievable. So he was in.
That's a little education our viewers are getting today.
Yeah.
John Alexander Carroll.
What do you always say? Stick with the show. If you get bored or for a while, we'll come around to something that you might learn something.
That's right.
Well, Larry Blakeney, his demeanor and character he was a jovial guy. I mean, he was a businessman, but I liked his demeanor and his rapport with players.
And the community.
You're exactly right.
Everybody that knows Coach Blakeney
was he was a household word at Auburn. He was a household word at Troy. He was a great guy.
Yeah, I mean, if it's not for the 60 Minutes coming out and Keep It Down Home Cuz and Eric Ramsey and all that stuff, Coach Blakeney never would have been at Troy for all those years. He would have gotten the SEC job. I mean, he was a big-time coach. Yeah. But after that had happened, Coach Blakeney, I mean, he never changed his personality. I mean, he would still say "cuz." That was their big thing on that coaching staff. Everybody was "cuz."
Yeah. I don't want to get in. I don't want to get in on that. But I will say this.
Well, no, I mean, you don't have to get in on it. It's public knowledge. Everybody knows about it.
Yeah. But everything that I've ever been around, Larry Blakeney was good. He was a great coach and a great person, and he really. I don't know if I ever knew anybody that didn't think Larry Blakeney was a great coach.
Oh, yeah, I don't think that story really...
No, I don't question that. I just question that he was a great coach that should have been had a big-time program running it, but he still accepted what happened, and he took the fall.
Right.
He took the fall for Coach Dye. Everybody knows he did. So, I mean, it's one of those type of things, though, I just hate it for him personally, because he would have been at an SEC school. He might have been the head coach in Auburn.
Yeah. That's right. I tell you what, he was so well liked in Troy, and just the way he carried himself, and he helped so many. Just think how many coaches he helped get a job and so forth. He just
look at total up how long he coached at Troy. Then Don Maestri coached at Troy. Chase Riddle coached but they had these coaches that just stayed for a long period. It's atypical in the extreme.
If you can think, I tell you what, you're exactly right. If you could put a Chase Riddle and a Larry Blakeney and a Don Maestri and a
Robert Earl Stewart was the athletic director for a long time. Yeah.
All right, he started at Southern Academy as a coach, then Walker High School, Vestavia Hills, Auburn as an assistant, then at Troy from 1991 to 2014. His record was 178 wins, 113 losses, and 1 tie. In high school, he was 50 wins, 24 losses, and 2 ties. Won the Southland Conference Championship 3 times, the Sun Belt Conference 5 times. Coach,
and what it doesn't mention is when we went Division I, Troy played 4 home games probably for 10 years. They didn't get to start playing 6 home games until they got into a conference. That hurt Larry's record really bad.
Well, he took Troy from Division II all the way to Division I. I mean, I remember him covering the game where they lost to Sanford and Terry Bowden in a close game that they could have won up there.
Dad and I were on the sidelines. I'll never forget. We got 8 in our row.
And then you move forward, 15 years, and Troy is playing Nebraska and taking the lead 7-0.
Here we go. His first year 5-6, second year 10-1. Then Division 1 AA, we were 12-1-1, 8-4, 11-1. Then in the Southland Conference, 12-2, 5-6, 8-4. Then 1999, 11-2, 2000, 9-3. Then we went 7-4. Then when we moved up to Division 1A Independent, 4-6, 4-8, 6-6. Then in the Sun Belt Conference, 7-5, 4-7, 8-4, 8-4, 8-5, 9-4, 2010, 8-5, and then we finished. He went to several bowl games, but that's
he never won 10 games in Division I as a head coach, and that tells you what an amazing job Neil Brown did. Neil Brown won 10 twice and 11 once. So he won double digits 3 times in Troy. Yeah.
Well, Coach Blakeney brought in Neil Brown. I mean, that's another thing coaches do is they bring in people that become their successors.
I think Troy needs to honor Neil Brown one day. I know that.
I was never around. I wasn't living in Troy when he was a coach here, but everybody says nice things about him. So he must have been really good in the community too.
Yeah, he was. He came on the show all the time.
All right, here's his record at Troy. Started off 4-8, 10-3, 11-2, 10-3. 35-16 at Troy.
You often hear about coaches need 3 or 4 or 5 years to turn around or build a program, but you just set a lot of records there. Watch the amazing jump between a lot of these coaches their first year and second year. Look, Coach Blakeney's first year to second year, huge difference. Neil Brown, same way. Nick Saban at Alabama, first year about 500. Second year really had a chance to play for a national championship. It's interesting.
Bill Atkins was a great personality.
Saban went 7-6 his first year. That includes the loss to Law Monroe.
Yep.
All right, here's Billy Atkins' record at Troy. Started off 5-5, 8-2.
There you go, second year, boom.
Then 11-1, then 8-1-1. Then
he was only at Troy 4 years.
Then he was 6-4-1 in the Gulf South Conference. Then 6-3. Then he left.
6 years. He was in 6
years. He had a record of 44 wins, 16 losses, and 2 ties.
Then he was a very good coach.
Now, where'd he go after that? The Buffalo Bills? Is that where he went to coach?
Yeah. Now, Atkins left and went to coach with the 49ers as a scout, a coach and a scout. Yeah. But he was a great coach, and we can be so proud of the people that have run our program.
What really hurt Troy in those years, Gailey had great success. He won a national championship. He left for the Broncos. And then Rhodes took over, and Rhodes was a great coach. And if Rhodes wouldn't have left for Southern Illinois and would have stayed at Troy for another 2 or 3 more years, they probably would have won another national championship. Because that's when Troy kind of started the decline. It's when Rhodes left. The Maddox years were not good at all. And, Coach Blakeney came in, and we know the rest of the story after that. But I know Rick Rhodes has personally said to you several times, Dad, he wished that he never would have left Troy.
Well, one thing that he always wanted to do was to go 1A, 1 AA and then 1A. And when Troy did that, I know Rick would have wished he would have been on that staff. He was, let me tell you, he might have been as good a coach as we've ever had because of his offensive
acumen.
He had a real good offensive mind that he would score a lot of points.
No doubt about it.
He's probably been to 20 different places to coach. I'm reading his biography now.
We've talked about him many times. He's had more jobs than anybody in the world.
You know,
Yeah,
some
he really
coaches, if you're going to be a coach's wife and the coach's family, you're going to move more than you do in the military. Some of those people.
You're right.
Yeah,
But I'll tell you something about back in those days when Gailey, if you'll think about it, with Gailey and Rhodes, they recruited South Florida real well. I mean, they go down in the Everglades, that area, where in Miami area, Troy was getting all kinds of great, like Pimenta and Garrett Pimenta and
Koulias, all those guys.
Koulias, you know, all of those kids.
Miss Geyer.
You know, I make this point, and I just haven't heard many other
Troy
people.
was really recruiting well in the South Florida area. If you'll think about it, their national championship years and all that, about a half of those kids came from South Florida.
Talking about Florida, I've made this point a couple times in articles, but I don't think enough people have picked up on it. You talk about historic changes in Troy. Talk about the state of Florida, football players that can. The state of Florida, per my research, I might be wrong, but when I was a student and before me, about 20% of the student body from Troy University would have been from the state of Florida. Then you go over to Georgia, about 10% would have been from Georgia. So two states produced about 30% of your student body. Man, that almost evaporated.
They had free out-of-state tuition back then, didn't they?
Well, they might have.
They still do in northern Florida, I think. They give them, but it's the lottery in Georgia.
Well, so here's the point I'm getting. Forrest got to it. The point is, I can't remember if it was Georgia or Florida first, but they introduced a statewide lottery in both states, and those percentages of out-of-state enrollment from our two closest neighbors went from probably 30% to maybe 8%. I mean, you talk about taking a hit. And to its credit, Troy did two things to counter that. And I don't think one was recruiting the international students, which Dr. Porter kind of got going on, in the Asian students. And then the other, it was the most audacious, bold move in the history of any college, going Division I. When you're in a town of 13,000 people with 3,500 students, completely changed the brand and the image of the university. But I think part of that, you know, is, think if they hadn't done those things, and if you, you know, how do you absorb a hit of losing that many students from those states?
And you know, the thing about the international students, so that the economy is year-round. When you have the international students, you have 2,000 kids that never leave, never go home throughout the whole year.
Not suitcase college for them, is it?
Yeah, it's not commuter.
I will tell you, one of the successes of athletic, football, especially at Troy, was here you are. You got the state of Georgia and the state of Florida. No, without a doubt, the two best playing states, football playing states in America.
Mm-hmm.
And Troy is right on top of it.
That's right.
We get worlds of kids from Georgia and worlds of kids from Florida, and they come from quality programs. Troy, and then you throw in Troy, the Alabama, South Alabama, and you've got an area from say South Georgia, well, all of Georgia and all of Florida to recruit.
I bet when Mr. Beard and all the other people that were pushing for Division I, I bet that was a prominent point y'all made, wasn't it? Draw a little 3-hour radius around Troy and look at the athletes.
Well, the number of schools competing in collegiate football have gone up.
But Georgia is almost proven to be maybe the best football playing state. We're right on top of it.
You know, it has gone up, but it hadn't.
Right on top of Florida.
They make it hard intentionally to go Division I, so everybody can't do it. And Troy probably did it at the right time. To do it now would cost even more money.
I see where Alabama landed a 6'4", 349
I mean, programs that need to make the jump are West Florida. West Florida is Division II. Pensacola is a great market. They need to go 1AA and possibly go Division I one day. Especially if South Alabama ends up going to Conference USA or the American Conference one day, that would be a good fit for the Sun Belt.
Is Jack State making the move? Is Jacksonville State?
Right, that's how they can go. That's how some of them maybe go, is to be in a conference, 1AA, and then when there's a conference, when a conference needed another team, they could take a conference team from 1AA and make them 1A. You know, that's about the only way to get it done now, is to join a conference. Jacksonville is a very good example of a school just can't wait till an opportunity comes.
Probably right.
Well, Georgia State.
But that area, though, the Anniston area is, I mean, just not even close to the population it used to be. I mean, Oxford's gotten a lot bigger, but the town that needs to be Division I is Chattanooga. But I guess the University of Tennessee is just holding them.
Yeah.
You know, they don't want them to be like a UAB.
You know, I used to even think
that's a ridiculous thing to me.
Is that a board? Is that politics? That's politics.
Yeah.
That's probably politics.
Think about Georgia, the advantages they had. The University of Georgia, for many years, it was just 2 Division I programs in that big state. Georgia and Georgia Tech, and then Georgia Tech messed up big time when they got out of the SEC and went to the ACC, and their program was, you could kind of dismiss it. So Georgia had that whole rich, great football state to themselves. Now you've got Georgia Southern, which made the right move, Georgia State, and,
Georgia Tech.
But still, there's just 4. Alabama has more than Georgia, doesn't it? Division I program.
Well, I just don't understand Valdosta. Why has Valdosta not jumped to the 1AA?
I mean, you're right. I would have thought that. See, look at their recruiting ground. Georgia, Valdosta. You know, they're a tremendous recruiting ground too. I don't know. Can you believe this? They're Division II, and they could.
Well, I want to.
They could be Division I AA easy.
My mind is racing now that we're on this topic. It's a great topic. I'll tell you why more people aren't doing it. It's expensive as heck, because those scholarships, they don't just give them away. They got to pay for the, you got to pay for not just the football program, but for the women's lacrosse and soccer team. And instead of adding programs right now, you know what athletic departments are doing? They're eliminating programs. So, you know, what's keeping these other schools from doing this is, they'd love to be playing football against Troy and South Alabama and Alabama, but they would also have to offer, 150 extra girls scholarships, and that costs a lot of money.
Has a lot to do with it. You're right. Let's take a break.
Well, you look at the old. We got to talk about the old Gustav Conference days, who Troy's rivals were, and Troy is the only one that made the jump to 1A. Now there's several there at 1AA. That's something we got to talk about as well. But Troy was the only one that made it all the way to the top.
Yep.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, we'll take a short break. We want to thank our sponsors, and we'll be back in just a minute with Today in L.A.
This is Barney at Premier Chrysler Dodge Jeep and Ram, and I'm here to nip this sale in the bud.
Hello, folks. This is Greg Anthony, sales manager at Premier Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram in Troy, Alabama, offering discounts up to $15,000.
Let's nip that.
0% financing up to 72 months.
We gotta nip that.
Barney, $5,000 over Kelly Blue Book for your trade-in.
You're killing the competition.
Barney!
Trojan Auto Parts of Troy, home of Napa know-how. Stop by and see owners Mike and Melissa Kilcrease and their Napa know-how team with over 100 years of combined experience. We're the only locally owned parts store in Pike County, and we're fully stocked and ready to serve you. We pride ourselves on being your go-to parts store, not only for the simple items, but we specialize in those hard-to-find items as well. Trojan Auto Parts, the right part at the right price at the right time. Napa, a name you've trusted here in Troy since 1945.
Starting April 1st, all your local county and school board meetings will be moving to BBTV, Channel 17. Catch Pike County Commission, Troy City Council, and school board meetings live on Facebook, YouTube, and BBTV, brought to you by Troy Cable.
Troy Cable Security Wi-Fi doorbell camera allows you to answer the door from your smartphone when you are at home, at work, or on the go. When a visitor presses the button, Troy Cable Security sends a live video feed to your smartphone so you can see, hear, and speak to the person at your door. With the doorbell camera, you can have your porch light turn on automatically when it detects motion at night to create the appearance that someone is at home. You can view video clips so you can always know who stopped by when you are out. Troy Cable Security. You love them, protect them.
Police radio that day.
Welcome back to Today in L.A. I'm Forrest Lee. This is Bill Rice. On the phone we have Mike Amos and his son Michael calling in from Grayton Beach. We got about 8-9 minutes left.
I want to mention that our show is brought to you by Premier Dodge Chrysler Jeep on the bypass, and we appreciate them very much. And Ram Trucks, all the wonderful inventory, big time savings right now at Premier Dodge Chrysler Jeep and Ram Trucks.
Man, I just got soaking wet trying to take one of my little ones off to the car. It's pouring right now.
Pouring in Troy. There's a big line of showers.
Yeah,
it's huge. It's really raining hard here.
But if you go back to the Gustav Conference days, Troy was in the Gustav Conference with Livingston, Jacksonville State, UNA, Mississippi College, West Georgia, Tennessee Martin. Who are some teams I'm leaving out, Doug?
Delta State at one point.
Delta State. Yeah, the Delta State, yeah, that's right. Boy, that was a lot of competition, no question.
I think...
was there any teams from Louisiana? Was Nichols in the Gustav Conference or no?
No, but we played them a lot.
Mississippi College, you already said Mississippi College.
You said Valdosta, didn't you?
No, I didn't say Valdosta. Valdosta was in it. West Georgia was in it.
West Georgia came later. When I was covering Coach Macer's teams, I can remember the big basketball games were North Alabama, Jacksonville State, and Valdosta. They all had pretty good programs.
Yeah. It was that was a very competitive conference. No question about it. But it was at the Division II level, wasn't it?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it's Division II.
But
well, I'll tell you what.
Tennessee Martin. You've already said that one.
Yeah.
The Division II teams were probably better because you didn't have as many Division I programs and you didn't have as many Division I AA programs. So the players that these Division II schools got were good players.
Yeah.
No doubt about it.
You talk about baseball. You had Valdosta with a great baseball program. Troy won. Jacksonville, North Alabama were super baseball programs. They were really good.
Yeah, I mean, you look at it back then. The powerhouses in 1AA in football. You had Georgia Southern was a powerhouse, Marshall was a powerhouse, Youngstown State was a powerhouse, Montana was a powerhouse. That was kind of like the teams every year back in the day. Yeah. Of course, James Madison's was good, but I mean, you know, they just weren't as near as many teams in 1AA at the time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, I tell you what, we are very proud to be where we are, and we are so fortunate to have done this. Let me tell you, of course, you heard me mention Benny Beard. I tell you, somebody who was very important was our athletic director, Johnny Williams. If Johnny Williams had not been for the move to 1A like he was as the athletic director, and we would have never got there. It was all the support of the people on our board, our chancellor, and everybody had to be on the same footage.
You know what? You remember, Mike? One of the big things is Troy had to expand its stadium, and it was that was a big deal. And you know who helped them do it? Who underwrote that project? The city of Troy. Jimmy Lunsford and the city council. That stadium went from about 10,000 to about 17,000. And that was a big, important, that showed that we were serious about. Then they later tore down pretty much that whole thing and built it even finer, but that was the first.
Look what it has done for our community. Not only is our athletic department grown, but our community has grown. It's been a super he and the college work together.
You know, I've been riding around Troy, carpooling my kids, and I've noticed there's a lot of, looks like apartment complexes that are going up.
They're flying up.
Yeah.
Now, our stadium holds
right now,
30,402.
And this is prettiest stadium as you're going to see of its size anywhere.
Yeah, really never needs to get bigger than 30,000. I think that's more than enough.
But right now it is, sure is, and I think everybody's pleased with the way everything turned out.
I did hear somebody when I did my story on the beautification of Troy campus over the last 30 years, corresponding with the Hawkins arrival. Somebody told me that look at that press box, and that you could brick it and make the facade of that 5 or 6 story press box prettier and match the rest of the stadium. So I think that's on somebody's wish list.
And who's it named after? Is it Doug Hawkins?
Mm-hmm. Appropriately enough.
From Blue Vernon, Alabama.
He played a leading role in a lot of these.
Oh yeah, he played a leading role in it, no question. And you know, everybody had to be on board. They were, you know.
I know Johnny Williams was going to write a book one day about it all. I don't know if he will one day. Making the transition to Division One.
Yeah, it was really.
But you know who it really hurt though was the basketball program and Coach Maestri. He had it going on, but Troy was a Division II powerhouse, a year in and year out, competing for league and national championships. And then they just went into the wilderness with all these obscure conferences and.
They had a seven-year ban to make the tournament.
Yeah.
They had 7 years they had to wait.
Nothing you could play for.
A player that, I mean, that's got to be tough recruiting.
So he persevered and came out the other side, but it was his record. I think he won over 501 games, but if that hadn't have happened, he probably would have about 70 more wins.
Will there ever be a restructure of all divisions again to allow for more championships? And you're going to have a cap on the big boys.
Yeah, that's
they're going to play for this one. Then there's going to be the next level.
Tiers.
We're going to go back. Will we go back to like it used to be?
Might get back to where you were.
Could be.
I mean, I think you're going to have a big boy conference and then a lower tier with the Troys and the Southern Mississippis and the Rices.
Yeah, it's going to kill programs like Troy if they don't have guaranteed money games every year.
Well,
at least 1 or 2.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you for joining us today in L.A. with Mike Amos and his son Michael. Our show will be replayed today at 1:30, and we'll look forward to seeing you in the morning, April the 16th. And we hope everybody has a great day, and we'll see you tomorrow on Today in L.A.
This is Barney in Premier Chrysler Dodge Jeep and Ram, and I'm here to nip this sale in the bud.